Hello and welcome to episode 322 of Sutton and Back Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and let's start with the NBA and first inevitable march to the championship. Well deserved. A really solid team.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of the real heavy team-oriented winners like the Portland Trailblazers of the late 70s and the Knicks that were really team-centric. Had strong players, but were really team-centric, as opposed to the LeBron, Shaq, Kobe teams. And this is just a well-deserved team. It's well coached. They respond well. I just really like the way they play basketball.
And I think the one thing the Heat have had it as an advantage, at least in the East, over the Bucks and the Celtics and the Knicks and probably would have been the Sixers, is they had this mental toughness edge and this physical toughness edge. They don't have it, and they were the least talented team of those teams that they played, except for the Knicks maybe. But they were able to work and out hustle and outthink the other teams. But the Nuggets are more talented, and they do that just as hard as the Heat do, I think.
And what I would say about the Heat is they have played their ass off.
Yeah.
Really, really hard.
Yes. But they are not going to, they're not going to be the kind of team that, sorry, we're calling my dad in the middle of the podcast because he dipped out on us.
Did I lose you?
We lost you for a second, but we just corrected it live on air. No, I was saying like the Nuggets are mentally as tough as because I think what really sealed it for me was that Game 4 Lakers sweep. Like you're in Los Angeles. The league would love that series to go on. You got the hometown crowd. You're not getting any foul calls, and you still won that game.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, it wasn't Jokic. It was Gordon and Bruce Brown in Game 3. In Game 2, it was clearly like Murray and Jokic with getting no help from anybody else. So now you're back home, and,
You're back home, and the Heat have not phoned it in. They play hard every game.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to give it to you.
No, they're not going to give it to me. And it's just so clear to me that, and I rooted for the Heat the whole series. And I love the Heat. There's just nothing they can do.
No.
If they play 100 games, Denver might win 92.
Yeah.
Of 100. But it's not, you can't point to anything and he can't say if we did this and this, we win, because they wouldn't. I mean, it just doesn't matter. Denver is that good, and the matchup with the Heat is that dominant. But, I give the Heat credit. I mean, they're probably 8 to 10 points less than the Nuggets consistently.
Yeah. And people have pointed out that, the league, or this is one theory I've heard as to why that, the last couple, we won the Bucks, then Golden State, now the Nuggets, and you're still looking at the Nuggets, the Bucks, the Sixers with Embiid, that like everybody sort of pivoted to how do we beat the Warriors. And now the Warriors, there's nobody that has the size to match up with like a guy like, a quality big that can really do anything. And even teams that have two.
And there's very few players that have ever been like Jokic.
Yeah.
I mean, Jokic, Jokic's like Bill Walton. And he's like a big Larry Bird.
And Arvydas Sabonis, who was...
And Arvydas Sabonis.
Yeah.
And I mean, and how unique that... We've mentioned 4 players over a 50-year time span.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unique. You don't have an answer.
No.
Just like, when Victor Abulaya starts playing, there's not going to be an answer for him.
No. Yeah, Jokic is so good at everything on offense that there's nothing to exploit on offense. And no matter what you do, he has an answer for it. And he's got 3 answers for it, probably.
He's got great court vision.
Yes. And he's got that right mentality where, like, he can affect the game without taking very many shots. And, and again, I know it's, people like to say, well, you never played in the NBA, and that's great. But, like, if you played basketball, you know how important it is to get the ball in your spot. And that if you're hustling and you cut to the basket, that people see it and get you the ball. And Jokic always does.
Yeah.
His teammates aren't going to, they know that if they do what they're supposed to do and they do it hard, they're going to get rewarded. And,
And it's funny, this week, was the 30 for 30, the first two episodes about Bill Walton.
Yeah.
And that's what he said consistently throughout. And he talked about his teammates at UCLA when he was in college, and he just said Greg Lee would make sure that you got the ball where you need to have the ball when you need to have the ball.
Yeah. And, when people always say, like, when a team wins the finals, it's sort of what is the blueprint to follow? What secret did they unlock that we didn't have, And with Golden State, you could argue it with small ball, even though they had a lot of size on that team. And they had two of the greatest shooters of all time. It wasn't really replicable. And again, with the Nuggets, I think the one thing that is replicable is a little bit of, and I'll just make people groan, the Pittsburgh Steeler culture of consistency. They've had some ups and downs during Jokic's career, but they stuck with Jokic. They stuck with Murray, stuck with Michael Porter Jr. They paid all those people early. Mike is still the coach. They've had faith in their system, and, it paid off. Whereas you look at a team like the Celtics, they're on their third coach, maybe not because they wanted it to be necessarily, but their third coach in 3 seasons. And maybe that's why they failed in the,
No, I mean, the other team they remind me of is the Spurs.
Yeah.
They're solid. They're not flashy. They can just go out and beat your brains in every night.
And I know Jokic has gotten more than his share of flowers over these last few weeks. But I feel like the Jokic situation is a wonderful microcosm for people's inability to admit they were wrong.
Yeah.
Because you still hear people right now talking about his defense, and it's like, according to analytics, his defense is top 10 at his position. And if you watch him play, like, he's not a sieve. He's not lack of effort. He's a big 7-footer that uses his body. He's a great defensive rebounder. He leads the break. Like, he's not going to be all defense, but his defense is not that weak of a thing. And I don't want to hear about this team. Yeah, they played Miami and this Lakers team, and it's like they just don't want to give you. It's like they're doing everything they can to still maintain their point, and it's like just at this point,
they played who they were assigned to play,
yeah.
And that's all you can say.
And it's like, at least at this point, just admit you were wrong about Jokic and just move on.
You don't want to say, yeah, well, if they were in the East, they're not in the East.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so don't even talk about it.
No.
Just talk about what you control. But anyhow, I know we got other things to talk about, but, we talked about it, gentleman's sweep or 6, and it looks like a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to give it, I'm not going to use that term because I think Miami has played as hard as they're capable of playing. They just aren't as good as the Nuggets, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Well, now, being as the most coveted movable player on the market is probably Dame Lillard, right?
Yes, I would say so. Because he could make a difference for a number of teams trying to get into this position. That's why.
He sort of made it in sort of that passive-aggressive, I'm not asking for a trade, Russell Wilson-y sort of way. That he does not like the city of Boston. But he is a fan of the other team in the finals in the Miami Heat. And I don't know what the Heat have exactly to give up for him, but do you think a team with Bam, Jimmy, and Dame, would that be your East favorite going into next season? Or would
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because when they got exposed this year, I think their point guard play has been. Kyle Lowry's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Coming off the bench, but he has been consistent.
Yeah, I'm assuming the Heat would probably have to give up.
Going to be that guy, but on the other hand, you're not showing me that you can stop anybody. And
No.
You could deal with. You're not showing me that you could deal with this team if you played them again. I don't think Dame puts you over the top. I still think if this team and Dame played Denver was still up.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's been the most interesting rumor as to where he would like to end up. And it is Pat Riley and that GM, and maybe they can turn Caleb Martin.
It's going to be interesting because, obviously the Suns want to shed themselves with Chris Paul and Ayton.
Yeah.
Will you take Chris Paul and Ayton for a game? Chris Paul, Ayton, and a draft pick.
I mean, the Suns would in a heartbeat, but
The Suns would the heartbeat, yeah, but with the Blazers.
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't think it helps the Blazers, get where they want to go. unless they're going to build a team around Ayton, which I wouldn't do.
No. Because I think Ayton he's past his sell-by date, where James Wiseman, even though he only went for 5 second-round picks, I feel like there was still some, like, maybe he's this somebody else. Like, he didn't get the reps, he didn't get the time. We'll bring him in, he'll be worth the project. Where Ayton feels like he's already on his second contract, his big contract, making big money. And he couldn't play with Paul and KD. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, Chris Paul could end up with LeBron.
Yeah, a little banana boat reunion.
Much more affordable alternative than Kyrie.
Yeah. And just even though he's got the injury thing, he's probably just as reliable as Kyrie.
Yeah. So, without the headaches.
Yeah, without the headaches. Yeah, because Chris Paul seems like I haven't liked all of his on the court competitive stuff with the ball punching, but he seems like a good dude overall.
And then for 2 seconds, you had is LeBron going to go to Dallas to play with Kyrie?
Yeah. But again, you get to the whole, like, LeBron's not a free agent, and Dallas has absolutely nothing to offer you.
Unless if you're the Lakers, letting him go and starting to build the team that you want to build.
Yeah.
Unless you really think you can win it all next year. So there's some real interesting drama.
There is. There definitely
We'll
is.
see what happens on draft night.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like Brandon Miller, the 6'9" kid who had a little bit of off the court troubles from Alabama, is secured as the number 2 pick. It sounds like people like a 6'9" guy over the 6'2" guard in Scoot Henderson. For whatever that's worth. Which also hurts the Blazers. Because if your plan was to keep Dame and build around him, you already have Dame, who's not a big guard. Anthony Simons is not a big guard. And the clear number 3 player in this draft is Scoot Henderson, who's also a small guard. So, between that and Dame saying he doesn't want to play in a kindergarten, not great, right?
No, and like I said, it's a shame. I mean, Portland is a good market. They deserve a good product.
Yeah.
And it's been, like I said, it's been fun watching this Bill Walton documentary that I'll talk about later on. Because it really they show a lot of Portland now it all was.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any commentary on the Stanley Cup?
I mean, I guess congratulations to Vegas, almost. Because they're sort of in a nugget situation where they seem like the better team, and they've got the 3-1 lead, right?
Yeah, I'd say so, except the Florida Panthers team always just seems to be coming back.
Yeah, I mean...
They made it really close last night. They had 6-on-4 to end that game.
It's true.
But they're going to Vegas now. And, Vegas smells it, so we'll see what happens. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, they will be.
I'm going to shock everybody that follows us on the podcast.
Okay.
Shout out to Man City for winning the treble.
Yeah.
And I guess that's all I'll be like Forrest Gump, and that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
Because I don't know much more to say.
Yeah, I guess our last NBA story...
Although, on a soccer-related story,
okay.
Messi coming to Inter Miami is a huge story.
It is, but a lot of the discourse around that now is that it's kind of sad. So, it's got vibes of, just old man cash in.
Except that he can still play.
He can.
Now, will he be more successful in the MLS? Yes, I don't. He's not going to be playing against the talent he would be playing if he stayed in the EPL or one of his leagues. So, yeah. But I mean, Beckham did it. It was good for the MLS. It's good for U.S. soccer.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
We will. Like I said, I feel like I'm old enough now that I've been hearing enough about soccer that maybe just let's accept that it's like Arrested Development. The people that like it. People out there aren't jumping on board. Just let it go.
That's it. Let it go.
Yeah, it's great that it's there's plenty of places you can go in the world to watch it.
Now, the big story of the week was the PGA Live merger.
Oh, I think we're talking about Zion's weight.
No,
Okay.
it's a big story.
It is. It's a huge story. And again, I want to know I wish we could see what's happening behind closed doors, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel bad for Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
Because he did come out, and I mean, he was a proponent, and you would have thought that before there was a decision made or a negotiation that he would have at least been invited to have a conversation.
Yeah.
To weigh in. So I find that a little upsetting, off-putting. I know the guys that stayed and didn't get paid are regretting, they're not sure regretting, but I think they're upset that they missed a payday that they probably didn't need to miss.
And a big payday. Those guys were getting, you're not talking about, one tournament's worth. You're talking about $25, $30 million a person, right?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
Even Ricky Fowler got offered $70 million.
Yeah, like a ridiculous amount of money.
Sonoma got offered over $100 million. Yeah, I mean, they turned down big paydays. It's going to be interesting to see where this shakes out, see if the commissioner is able to hang on.
I don't think you can keep him. Especially he came out and he talked about the morality of everything. And that's why they took this, we're not letting this kind of money into and it's like, now the money's there. They're on your board, even if they're minority stockholders. I mean, they're there now. They've legitimized their business opportunities. And you look like a giant hypocrite.
And now you're explaining that the reason you gave in is because the litigation wasn't going to go away. You've already spent $150 million, and the Saudis had $630 billion to spend against you, so you're not going to last.
Yeah. But I think he's got to go, and he's got to go soon. I just don't think you can. Again, for guys like Rory and some other people, somebody's head's got to roll, and it's got to be somebody big. And I don't see anybody else.
It's going to be up to the players because it's their, it's their decision. So whatever they want, if they decide he's got to go, he's got to go.
Yeah. But it doesn't. I mean, like I said, I understand the math of it. Yeah, but it just it doesn't look good, I guess.
No, I mean, I'm actually thinking I'm going to write my column for SPJ on sport washing. Since it seems to be the hot operative word. But you know what? When I think about sport washing, is it, okay, are you trying to legitimize what you do through sport? If that's what it is, there's a way to broaden that definition and say, a lot of these companies that get involved in sponsoring sports, are they washing their image, or are they trying to build their image? Sure they are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you take the politics away, it's been going on for years and years and years, and the politics has always been there too. So it's not. This isn't a new phenomenon. This isn't brand new. It only is because some of the countries that got involved in it weren't traditionally playing in this.
Yeah.
Like Saudi Arabia, like China, and they did capitalize on it. And with human rights trying to overcome some human rights situations. And, I understand that. But the whole concept of buying into a sport, trying to change the way people think about you, that's been around for over 100 years.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like when you have this conversation on a macro level, right, whether you're talking about which restaurants to eat at, which shoes to buy, unless you're going to run around completely naked except for a pair of Tom shoes eating Ben & Jerry's ice cream, you're probably not supporting a very good company, sad as it is. You just,
we talk about it all the time. And every so often it pops up that there's 8-year-olds making Nikes. Yeah. In Vietnam. And should we be supporting that? And they would say, oh, probably not. And then we go buy shoes.
Yeah. And like I said, Ben & Jerry's and Tom's can't support all of our interest. So I don't know what to do. And I don't know how you make people more accountable or make people better or anything along those lines. But, it's not like it's a small percent. You can avoid a small percentage and then live, fulfilled or whatever you think you're living a good life. It's a rough one.
It is a rough one.
When we peeled that curtain back.
College World Series time.
Okay.
The Balls are flying out of the ballparks. Wake Forest won their super regional today, beat Alabama 22-5. And the balls were, I was watching that game for a while, just like every other pitch was on the round.
Okay.
And then, so you got Wake Forest is in, and, you've got the other games going on. You've got LSU is a game up. They look like a really good team. The one that interests me the most is Oral Roberts in Oregon, which is 1-1. And both games have been won in either extra innings or the bottom of the ninth. And that deciding game is tonight. Texas and Stanford, you have a lot of the traditional teams. But Wake Forest won. They're in. They're the number one team in the country. Like I said, they look really good. So we'll see. The College World Series starts on Friday. It's my favorite sporting event. I've talked about it for a long time. If you like baseball and you like college baseball, it's a great event. But it looks like the unlimited bats are wailing. Either they come by with the weather, because the weather's been blowing out in a lot of these ballparks. Yeah, we'll see. It's been fun to watch.
Well, I guess before we move on from baseball, Pirate Watch. They're back in first in the Central.
Back in first in Central. And Andrew McCutcheon got his 2,000th hit today.
It's very nice.
Very nice.
We just...
And they had their two of their three largest crowds of the year, the last night and today. Primarily because of Kutch going for his 2,000th hit.
Well, we've been doing this podcast for almost 5 years, and I think the number of days we could say the Pirates were in first place has been pretty slim during that time.
I don't think we could say it.
Yeah, it's like I
think this might be the first time in the 5 years of the podcast we could say it.
Outside of like game one, day one, The opening.
Outside of the first 2 weeks of April.
Yeah. So that is exciting as a Pittsburgh Pirate person, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, we kind of skipped over the Zion baby mama drama, but...
Well, let's talk about it. Go ahead, bring it up.
Well, Zion did a gender reveal about his current baby, and then a porn star from Atlanta who claims that, and sent the receipts, as people like to say. But she implied, I think the most interesting thing from, outside of the Real Housewives' drama of an affair, was that, she implied that the people in his life, including this girl who he's having a baby with, are part of the reason he's still large. And they don't hold him accountable, and she was trying to hold him accountable and get him in better shape, which I thought was important.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like, she said some it sounds like there was a heated affair, and that's, their own business. But, the Zion thing, it's still, we can tie it back into the beginning of the show. If you look at second round pick Nikola Jokic coming out and the way he looked his first couple seasons in the NBA, and then you look at Jokic now, maybe Zion needs some...
willing to do to
get
there.
Yeah, Zion should have a talk with Nikola Jokic, and maybe Luka should join that conversation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, as Charles Barkley and Shaq pointed out, just laughing, making fat jokes, there's not an NBA city in the world where you're going to have healthy food, where Zion's going to be not around a lot of temptation when it comes to food, right?
No.
You've traveled with every city of the NBA, and you can find great food in all those cities.
In fact, phenomenal food in most of those cities.
Yeah, yes. Phenomenal food in most of those cities. And while New Orleans certainly has a lot of phenomenal food, it's not just because he's in New Orleans. Like, that's, it's not like he's moving to a place that only has, like, lean chicken and vegan places as, Portland or something. Like, that's,
Yeah, you've got to make the commitment, and Jokic was willing to make the commitment.
Yeah. And Luka has acknowledged that
it's kind of sad. If you look at Zion's career, it's really unfortunate.
It is.
A lot of it is self-imposed.
Yeah. And again, as people pointed out, like, if this story had come across, if Zion had been played for these last 6 seasons he's been in the NBA, he had averaged, 55, 60 games a year, was a couple-time All-Star, like, people probably just laughed this story off. But because this is a guy who can't seem to stay on the floor, at least part of it is due to eating and health and conditioning. And then you get this story, it makes the story a bigger deal, right? because then you start thinking about priorities and what you're doing in your life and how you're living, and it just sort of amplifies the whole thing. So,
yeah. Well, while we're back on our NBA bent, if the finals end tomorrow night, we should get a John Morant ruling this week too.
yeah. Now, his toy gun story. That was just some random person said that, right? That wasn't his late defense, was it?
No.
Okay. Because I can't think of a worse defense. Especially because, like, whatever gun that looked like a really real gun. And as someone that works in the TV and film business, I've been in I've been in a number of prop houses, and they have some incredible fake-looking guns. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it could, but I mean, it just, I don't know. It just seems ridiculous, you know?
If you're taking responsibility.
Yes.
And gun control in this country and gun violence is a big thing. Even if you say it wasn't loaded, is not a good excuse.
No.
You shouldn't be in a position where you're doing this and causing this association between you and the gun.
Yeah.
Not good.
No.
Bad luck. Well, we're excited to get the draft coming up at the end of the month.
Very.
That would be exciting. Training camps will be opening up. We didn't have any big signings yet, did we? No.
No, there's a lot of running backs if you want them. And DeAndre Hopkins is still out there if you want him. Oh, Frank Clark. Frank Clark moved from the Kansas City Chiefs to the Denver Broncos.
Right.
And that's a pretty nice signing for them. But, I mean, whereas our Steelers have a giant offensive coordinator question, the Broncos have a giant quarterback question, or a 5'10" quarterback question, I guess. That, he needs to answer that he can be better than he was last year and the year before that, before they worry about Denver doing anything. But yeah, there's some quality guys out there, just a matter of, roles and how much they want. But
well, I'm going to be surprised if Dalvin Cook isn't a Dolphin.
Yeah, he seems to want it. They seem to want it. I'm sure A-Chain and whoever else they have, Jeff Wilson, don't want it, but they'll have to live with it. You want to hop?
You got your preferred landing spot for D-Hop?
I guess somewhere in the NFC away from the Steelers. I'd rather them not have to deal with them. I don't know where that would be. I feel like Dallas is a place he can go and not really do any harm, because I don't think Dallas is going to do anything anyway.
I think Dallas would be a good spot. I think the New York Giants would be a good spot. Those are my two.
Yeah. Like, I don't want him on the Ravens. I'd prefer him not on the Chiefs. They don't need any help. I don't know what to think about the Bills. Like, when we do our NFL preview, I'm not sure where I'm having the Bills finish in that division.
I think it's crazy right now.
And if you worried more about the Bills, you saw who on the cover of Madden 24, right?
Right.
Josh Allen. Yeah.
Well, I don't think we'll be calling the NFC least anymore.
No.
The NFC East is no longer the NFC least. It's going to be dominant. It's going to be really exciting. I'm sorry, the AFC East.
Yeah. And NFC East. I mean, you got Philly.
NFC. They're both going to be really exciting.
Yeah. Very much so. Neither one has had any food. I had a couple entertainments. You have some entertainment, right?
Yeah, I watched the first 3 episodes of The Crowded Room, which you had recommended me based on the trailer.
Yes.
And I thought it was outstanding. I thought it was some people would criticize it for maybe being a little slow. I wouldn't say it was slow. I would say it was meticulously crafted and told. And it's told very, very well. It's a great story, great acting, good story. And after the 3rd episode, they flipped a couple big curveballs at the end of 3. So, those are always great when, especially if they're believable.
Yeah.
And this was believable. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really well done.
I watched Flamin' Hot yesterday. Do you know Flamin' Hot, Dad?
Is that about the guy that invented the hot Cheeto?
It is about the guy that invented the hot Cheeto. It's a very heartwarming, really well done film. And it's both a lesson to bosses everywhere, but I doubt they would probably do it. But in the story, basically, a janitor from the Frito-Lay company gets a hold of the CEO's phone number, calls him, and impresses him enough that he eventually becomes, chief of multicultural marketing. And, I mean, a lot of it is about representation and, flavors that represent everybody's country and, people recognizing. But it's very well done. It's very heartfelt. It's really well acted. So if you want like a little pick-me-up, feel-good movie.
And it's a true story.
And it's a true story, yeah.
So what do they use to make the Cheetos hot?
They don't really, I mean, she basically, like, the family goes to all the Spanish and, Mexican groceries in Los Angeles, and they pick up all sorts of peppers and achote and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of hard to, I don't think they really tell you.
Okay.
But at the time, what I did learn that's probably not a spoiler for people is that Cheetos was playing around with a McCormick seasoning that was a spicy Cheeto and spicy Dorito. But that his had been so well researched and marketed and known that they went with his plan instead. And obviously the rest is history because, you look on the shelves and there's a lot of hot Cheetos. And Fritos and Doritos and Takis, which are like a spin-off. That just dark red powder, yeah.
Well, good. I saw that advertised. I might watch that.
Yeah, but it has a nice message of like, essentially like, whether or not people listen to his idea and, eventually now he's the inventor of hot Cheetos and he had a successful career. Like, he was still the person he was. He still had good ideas. He was still a smart person. He was still a worthwhile person, whether or not he ever got his break, which I do think is forgotten a lot in this country. Yeah. That, there's only so many seats at the table and sometimes you just can't get the reservation. And,
That's exactly right.
And it's not
lucked out for this guy, and it's a good story.
Yeah, that's why I always get bummed out when, like, it's not to discount, the nature of hard work and the importance of hard work, but I feel like when you make it that it's just about hard work, I think you make a lot of people in this country, like teachers and truck drivers and all these people that are working their asses off, feel like crap. Like, hard work is obviously part of it, but so is luck and so is opportunity, and those do not come for everybody. And I think that's right. An important lesson for people to.
That's 100% right. I mean, this is nice where they all came together for this guy.
Yeah, and it's
usually not the story.
No, but like I said, all the people in the movie, it's really well acted too. So I think people enjoy it.
Well, I want to give a shout out to 30 for 30, The Luckiest Man on Earth, the 4-part Bill Walton saga.
Okay.
The first two episodes played last week. A lot of the UCLA years, and his role in the counterculture, and his role with Patty Hearst and Jake Scott, his love of basketball, not coming from an athletic family. His father, he said, he never shot a basket or played catch with his father. His father wasn't. He said the first time he saw his father do anything athletic, it was like a potato sack race at a company picnic.
Oh wow!
Yeah. It's a really, really good story. He's got a great sense of humor. He refers to himself as the luckiest man on earth. Talks about his 4 kids. It's really well done. And I think the parts 3 and 4 are tomorrow. I think so, or else they're Tuesday. But really good series. And I've always loved 30 for 30.
Yeah, those are really well done.
Really good job. But this one, because, I was a Bill Walton fan, it's a lot of fun seeing somebody that just enjoys life.
Oh, speaking of enjoying life, I do have a food moment for you, Dad.
Okay, what do you got?
Pickles. Just pickles.
Okay.
They're just delicious. I sometimes go long times without eating pickles.
All right.
And then when I have them again, I'm like, this does go really nice with a sandwich. It goes really, it goes good with bar. Like they're really good. I don't know why I frequently forget about pickles, but unless then I end up at a deli where there's one on my plate and I eat it, and I'm like, this is just really good. So
yeah, I love pickles.
My food moment is just the pickle, the humble pickle.
I have a product I'm going to have to try when I go to Pittsburgh next time.
Okay.
So watching the Pirates game today, the merger of 2 iconic Pittsburgh brands, all right, into one product.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. So you've been in Pittsburgh, you've been at Fiore's. What do people order with their pizza to drink when they're at Fiore's?
Iced tea. Well, the carton iced
Tea.
tea. Yeah.
Cartons of either Coltrions or cartons of Turner iced tea.
Yes.
Well, there is the most iconic beer in Pittsburgh.
Iron City.
So how about Turner iced tea flavored Iron City beer?
Oh.
Yep. That was unveiled today, and I already told Uncle Dan, I said, when I come up to the golf tournament, I'm going to have one of these.
I hope it's good.
Said, well, I'll tell you, I'll try it first and tell you if it's any good or not.
I have had a couple of hard iced teas in my day, like throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where, like, you get 3/4 of a flavor of iced tea. But maybe I've heard other times where there's some products where it's a seamless transition. But
well, I've had lemonade in a beer before,
yeah,
which is called a shandy, and I like that.
Okay.
So, and I like iced tea, so we'll have to see how this is.
Yeah, I mean,
that's definitely gonna try it.
I mean, like you said, that's two very iconic Pittsburgh people coming together. So.
And they did a golf commercial with two guys rolling golf balls. One had this logo, one had that logo, and then all of a sudden they picked up the can. I was like in shock.
Yeah. Yeah, carton iced tea is a very Pittsburgh thing.
Yes. Oh, Jason, did you see the leak of the Pittsburgh City Connect uniform?
I did not.
Ah. Well, it looks like the 79 Pirate uniform. I'm sorry, the Pirate City Connect uniform. It looks like the 79 Pirates. It's a gold shirt with black pants.
Okay.
And it has PIT on, like the airport thing, on the front of the shirt, which I don't think I would have done. I would have done the bird.
Yeah.
But and the hat, I think, is black with a yellow bill. But I'm going to go to the game on June 27th for the unveil.
Okay.
Of the City Connect uniform. And some of them, I probably like just a few of the City Connect uniforms. I don't like the majority of them. Like, I don't like the Dodgers. I don't like the Cubs. I don't like the Whites. Well, I like the White Sox one. I don't like the Rockies. I do like the Angels one. I do like the Padres one.
Okay.
But I don't know. Just something.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. Well, next week when we join you, we might be a couple days late because I am traveling, but we'll see. But we'll have an NBA champion. I think pretty much no matter what by then, right?
Well, definitely. We'll have an NBA champion. I'm assuming no later than Thursday.
Yeah, I'm assuming Monday, but
if he would manage to win, then the game would be Thursday, and I'm assuming we're going to have a Stanley Cup champion by then as well.
Yeah.
And the College World Series will be set for Friday, so we'll have a couple things going on.
We will. All right, so until next week.
All right, everyone. Have a good week.